Hey.
Hey.
You ready to start?
Oh, man, I'm so excited.
Okay, should I go ahead and hit the sound, the music?
You
want me to?
Well, I think that would be a great way to start off the show.
All right, here we go.
The thing is it's a broad spectrum of conversational thought there. I mean, if you put a brass knuckle and a baby carriage together,
It's gonna sink like a rock. Baby-sized brass knuckles.
yeah, that'd be awesome. Like,
You're gonna have to order that online on the dark web. So it's a fast baby.
yeah.
I would have entered in the Olympics. Did they try that?
I mean,
Could you just not corral it?
it was Satan,
Oh, it was Satan.
right? Yeah.
Oh.
I feel like if it was Satan baby, would be like, yeah, I'll run the race for you,
Yeah, sure.
and then not.
Oh, man.
And start the show in 3, 2, 1.
No, we just started the show.
We need to get a stage manager because I had no idea.
You're always confused.
I had no idea we were on.
Okay, welcome to Brass
And
Knuckles
baby carriages.
and the space
Between.
because. Yeah?
What? Okay, let's talk about what in F's name. Because why?
Well, because.
Do you think of the words?
Because.
Right as it-
Because.
One of these days you're going to repeat, and I'm keeping note.
Well, we did the space benign the other day, and that was my favorite one.
Benign. You talked yourself almost into like a well thought out reason to say benign.
Right, but I actually have any recollection of what that was about now.
That's how they used to describe my fists.
Well,
Rather benign.
Yeah, wasn't that the name of one of your overhand right?
Yeah, it was a knockout punch. Yeah, it was called the benign.
Yeah, or that was your quote fight name.
Yeah, I was always like Alex, benign.
Alex Benign.
Yeah,
Yeah, huh?
I didn't have a lot of fights.
Yeah.
You watched one of them.
Did I?
Yeah, where you were cornering me when I was fighting that guy DeBoz boxing.
Oh,
right before my choir concert because I was a vocal performance major.
One of our
Hell yeah.
one of our friends. That
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. Remember?
Yeah, DeBoz.
Where is he now though?
He's probably dead with a name like that.
Or he's the warlord of a small neighborhood.
Right. I mean,
DeBoz is a pretty badass name.
yeah, you don't walk around with a name like DuBois and then like take shit from
No.
people. Like
Well-
I've never met a DuBois since.
Nope, 0 times.
Yeah,
but he and I were like carbon copies of each other,
Right. He was tall.
and powerful and lanky. Yeah.
Right. And you were
Anyway, moving on. Not that.
well, I mean, you're reasonably sized.
Do you remember what you were shouting at me
I don't.
while we were fighting?
You remember these things.
I do because it was hilarious.
These
to me.
were sentinel moments in your life.
Well, it was beat into me literally.
Yeah. So what was I saying?
So DeBoz kept jabbing me, and I kept laughing at how solid the jabs were because I could feel them right in my toes.
right. That's a good jab.
Yeah, that's a good jab.
And that's
And a lack of movement.
yeah, that's a poor response. And either way, you put the two things together.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I'm surprised you remember it.
I do remember it because he hit me like 40 times in a row, and you started laughing because you were, quote, cornering me, right? You started laughing and you yelled, "You have to at least try to punch him." But every time I did, he clocked me.
Yeah.
So I was just like, well, I have frozen.
yeah.
This is
You're just
awful.
gonna stand there.
Yeah. So right after that, I run across campus and I had a choir concert, and I put on a little tux, went out for my concert, and there's like 12 people in this, or 20 people in this minstrel choir, whatever. And I come out on stage, and Dr. French at Southern Oregon stops, and he comes over to me. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I hadn't even thought about it. I was like, "Yeah, I'm good to go. Let's do this." And all I knew is I could see the bottom of both of my eyes. I just knew that. And I was like, "Oh, it's probably a little bit of swelling."
Well,
but by the time the concert was over, I was a goddamn mess. The bridge of my nose was huge, and I was like, "Huh." And then he physically said, "You will lose any future scholarship if you do this again before a choir concert."
Wow.
I was like,
Well, he was pretty upset at
well,
you.
he was into the music. Music was just something I was doing. Like the presentation of
Did you have a scholarship?
next year I would have,
Oh,
but I decided to, we had a little bit of fun our freshman year.
Right, yeah, we had fake IDs and we used to go drink.
Omar's.
Yeah.
Remember,
And
I proved, what did we drink?
melon balls.
Punch your man card now.
Yeah.
And I felt so old rolling and be like, how about 2 melon balls?
Yeah.
The guy's like, are you fucking kidding me?
2 19-year-olds.
And do you remember?
Ordering melon balls.
He didn't know how to make it, which of course he wouldn't, because, that might be something you'd sell on a special, in some weird spot. But we sit there and I look at you and I'm like, can you believe this guy doesn't even know how to make a melon ball?
And the funny thing is we didn't either. So,
No, I just trusted. It was green, close enough.
yeah, it was green. I mean,
Green and orange
I mean,
juice.
at least we could have, in hindsight, like at least a mojito, like something with
Yeah,
a little
classy.
bit of, a little bit of.
I mean, that's Hemingway. Hemingway was all about mojitos.
Was he? I had no idea what Hemingway drank.
Yeah, I went to the bar, had a mojito in the bar in Havana, Cuba, where
Havana.
I had a mojito right there, and they did not make the best mojito. The best mojito was right down the way. They blew it.
They blew it.
I bet Hemingway was pissed.
Pissed.
Speaking of your 0 point fields, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about the part 2 of manifestation.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let's make something.
Let's manifest a good podcast today, okay?
Something new.
Yeah.
Okay. Gonna do something new.
Yeah,
All right. I love this.
Let's try for a joke that someone else might laugh at.
Oh, yeah. But I think some of my jokes are pretty funny.
Like what? Which one?
I don't know. We'll check the transcript, maybe. If we change the context a little bit, it might be funny.
Right, yeah. I mean, so we're going to talk about, the space because of manifestation.
Can't save it. That was a terrible B word.
Yeah,
One of these days, you're going to double them up, and I'm going to hammer you.
Yeah. Maybe.
You're going to say because again, or because, yeah. And I'm
Betwixt.
going to be like, gotcha. So, yeah, manifestation. We
Hit me with that benign, right?
Alex, benign. I don't even think if I hit you with all my might, it would change your mood.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I get excited when people hit me hard. I honestly enjoy it.
That's not normal. That's not normal.
No, it's totally normal. What's wrong with that? Like,
Yeah, because if I hit you, you'd giggle. And I've done that before.
right.
I remember I caught you once decent, and you were like, I was like, oh, that's not the response you want.
Yeah, I mean, it is, though. Like,
Your knees wobbled.
did they?
Not outwardly. It looked like they may have.
The thing is,
Old
Ryan,
benign.
he's so hard on himself. You're hard on yourself. You're an athletic guy. You're pretty athletic.
Yeah, I know. Believe me. I could have played pro football easy if the coach wasn't a dick.
Right, yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not.
And if I had a different body,
Let's not go overboard, okay?
more
I
skills.
mean, I gave you one compliment, and that.
Well, it felt good.
Yeah, and
Keep them coming, dude.
I mean, you're a fantastic human, and you're an athletic guy, and you can, even for a short dude, you played basketball okay, I guess. I heard once.
Yeah. It wasn't too shabby.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be a square, same height and same reach at least.
Right.
5'9". Guess how long my wingspan is?
Yeah, nobody cares.
About 5'7". Not too impressive.
Okay,
manifestation.
Tarot cards.
Yeah, so we're going to talk I want to talk a little bit about tarot cards because you had mentioned that to me, and I have a set.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about the history and kind of how people feel like they work.
Right, and those are you have the Dreams of Gina tarot cards.
Dreams of Gaia. Mm-hmm.
Gina. Gaia?
Nope, not Gina. Nope, that's a diner waitress. And she used to talk like this. You boys want to take a swing at the fences with me tonight? Come around 4 o'clock and I get off.
Yeah. You want a couple of eggs? Couple of eggs with that toast?
Smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
So as I was searching through research and looking, I saw there are a lot of people out there that have had what they perceive as negative tarot card readings.
Right.
And it has fucked them up.
That's funny.
And I heard there's a whole bunch of people calling in to gurus and stuff on YouTube saying, like, oh, I got this bad reading and I just don't know how to fix it, and everything's coming true that it said. And I've heard pretty, like, if they're good people answering the questions, sometimes some of the people that are answering questions on there, I'm just like, holy, there's some guy they're putting all this trust in. Like, if you're putting all your trust in us, is well-founded.
Right, yeah.
But some of these other people,
I mean,
sheesh.
Give me your money.
Right. Yeah. Give him money. And so
I'll just take it.
But, I heard a lot of good answers, and people are like, hey, man, relax. You've got to give power to anything in your life that's messing you up. And that's,
right, yeah.
Coworkers are treating you terribly. You've got to give that credence. You've got to let that affect your life. And then, of course, it's challenging, but these are the same things. And these aren't mystical in and of themselves at all. But if you thought of them as a tool to help you kind of read energy around you, or even as a thought experiment, super valuable.
Right. Yeah. I don't know that I think of them as a thought experiment. I mean, I know.
I don't either. And I just say that because of one of the talks I listened to.
One of the people that you took notes on was like, this is a thought experiment. And
Correct.
Basically you can sum it up better than me because you're the one who talks about it. But you say that basically it's a way to frame your own thoughts or something.
Yeah. So as we think ourselves, and this is a person that says, oh yeah, there's nothing to them. There's just a tool, you can use and utilize. But and he did have some cool points. But so when we think ourselves into a box, we're stuck. And you think yourself into a box when you're just chasing your tail, always coming back to the beginning point, right? Well, we need something to break us out of that. And, a lot of times it's talking with a buddy or watching a physicist talk about something. You're like, oh, I never thought of it that way. And then boom, you're off and running again, right? Well, he says that tarot cards are, when you put these cards in a specific spread, each of these positions in these spreads, and there's a whole bunch of spreads out there, you can look into those, very interesting. He says that it forces you to look at your problem from a different angle.
Yeah. I mean,
adding past tense and present tense and,
to him, it's a tool for reframing things and looking at things
strictly a nuts and bolts. Your brain gotta, but then one thing I did marvel at is he referenced your intuition through the talk over and over and over again. And that's where I think people that have demystified the universe, there are always these connections like, well, you be conscious and you go with your intuition. Well, as soon as you are talking about that opens up the realm of, well, where do you think that's coming from?
Well, it's funny, the word intuition itself is it's actually, oddly enough, it's a benign word, right? It's
unbelievable,
right? It's a safe word to use, right? Especially when we're talking about manifestation, tarot cards, stuff like that. Oh, use your intuition, your gestalt, your gut feeling, whatever. Because people are like, oh yeah, I get those. Like, and then they pass them off as like that's just part of the human condition,
sure,
right? And sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, whatever. But they don't actually want to take that a step deeper and say, is there any real validity to premonition, to clairvoyance, to remote viewing, to cognition outside of our natural standard method of perception, right?
Sure.
And so it's funny that because intuition, it's just like, oh, it's just intuition. It's fine.
No big deal.
No big deal. Oh, yeah, that's right, Becky. Oh, my God. Karen.
I don't know what conversation in your head you're having, but I love it.
Yeah.
Becky and Karen are crazy.
Oh, my God. And their friend Jody. You've met them.
I haven't.
No, you know who I'm talking about.
Unless you're talking about diner people. I know them. You're right. I think you're absolutely right on there. And so, and intuition, like the world is loud. The world's loud all the time, and the loudest person gets the attention. And intuition doesn't work through volume.
No, so here's the thing: manifestation. That's what we're focusing on, right? And so by the end of this podcast, Super awesome cast.
He's always the best talker in the room.
Schlabadary.
You just ruined it.
Yeah. By the end of this podcast, we're going to really focus on like this concept or this idea of like manifestation is something that you can do. Not only can you do to bring things into your life in the future tense, present tense, you can also alter past tense.
Oh yeah, Dan was blowing my mind up with this.
And not only is this something that's like, oh, this is just foo-foo, whatever, like this is woo-woo.
Pseudoscience bullshit.
Yeah. There's like scientific studies to back up the fact that human minds can travel through space and time. Human minds are able to see and hear and consciously recognize moments and places that they're not actually at, and they can affect the outcomes of things in the future and in the past. And they've done studies on that. They've done these precognition studies where essentially...
Are you getting to the click one or not?
Yeah, I'm getting to the click one.
Okay,
right now.
okay,
Yeah.
this is great.
So these precognition studies, and I think it was SRI that did them. It might have been Pear. It's one of the two. Where they basically, I think it was Dean Radin that did it.
Okay.
Took these this random number generator, and basically it had a 50% generation of it generated a sound, either a click on the left side or a click on the right side. So on a stereo like headset, you would hear a click on the left or a click on the right?
Makes sense.
At 50%, right? Equal clicks on both sides, but just randomly.
Okay.
2 clicks here, 1 click there, 1 more click there, 1 click, blah, 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 right?
So not in a set pattern.
Right. No set pattern, right? But it was 50% clicks. And so what they did is they just recorded it, right? They just recorded the 15 minutes of clicks or whatever. And they took the recording, nobody listened to it, right? And they stored it away. And then a week later, they would have one of the people they were studying, and they'd say, we want you to focus on when this was recorded 5 days ago, a week ago, whatever, and have it have more left clicks than right clicks.
So they would just focus their brain on hearing
they
more
would
left
focus
clicks?
Conscious intent on that, like at that moment when this is recording. And so then they would, and then it would have 55% left clicks over right clicks. It'd have more left clicks versus right clicks. And so they did this study again and again and again. So they found that like there's these precognition studies. Because it all started from actually I believe it's Dean Radin. There's all these guys. Hal Puthoff, Dean Radin are two big names with remote viewing for Hal Puthoff. And Hal, we can talk about Hal in a minute about manifestation also. But so Dean was like, he was doing these studies and he realized that he was doing this stuff about the human response to like, either they would show people pictures, like an erotic picture, like a frightening or scary picture, like people getting hurt or harmed, and then just a normal whatever, like just people sitting outside, like having a picnic or whatever.
Sure.
So all these different series of pictures to elicit specific emotional responses, right? Either fear, eroticism, like or arousal. Fear and arousal essentially registered the same on their machines, and then there's the I don't care what I'm looking at kind of response, like, oh, no big deal.
Yeah.
Just people having a picnic, right? And what he found was that people were responding appropriately, right, before they were shown the image.
Oh, so they knew the exact moment they saw it, but they were seeing those changes prior.
Yeah, and this was happening in like everybody, right? So like everybody that he was doing it with, like, so people were responding, like their body
Chemical release and the tightening.
All the, and they also found that Americans react more, have a much more fear-based response to erotic pictures than other nationalities.
No, let's dig into that.
Well,
Oops.
yeah. I mean, it makes sense. They were doing this in the 70s, I think, or 80s.
Stop beating yourself up, you guys.
Yeah, I mean,
We're all into freaky stuff.
it's probably Catholics.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
I mean, that's
Baptists.
right. Woo. Yeah.
Wild bedroom time.
Yeah.
It is. They just don't tell anyone. That's the whole thing.
I mean,
and they feel guilty about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, so it all kind of spawned from that, like this whole thing about like people were having this precognitive response. So they were responding appropriately to something before they even saw it. And then they'd see it.
And did they reach any conclusions there, or is it just one of those
So it had to do with this idea that we're actually tapping into the 0-point field, or tapping into the quantum field, and we are our conscious mind, our brain is actually registering events before they happen in order for us to respond appropriately to them, right? And so then he went down the rabbit hole further to try to like test this precognition, and also not only test the precognition, but like test almost telekinesis and being able to affect outcome however they want it. So it was an argument of whether or not they were actually affecting the outcome or they were cognitively recognizing the outcome. Like there was a lot.
They have to find new ways to study it.
Right. And they did, and I'm butchering it. But the point is that the human mind was able to travel, right? Is able to travel through time. Time is not. So there's this weird, odd time dilation that takes place. So they also found out that, like,
now, are you still talking about like a remote viewing sort of thing?
Remote viewing in a second. But
okay.
And we're going to go back to the tarot cards, right? But they also found, like, in these studies, that if somebody listened to the recordings of the left click, right click thing before the person was told to try to influence left click, right click, whatever, that they weren't able to change it.
So once they've recognized the pattern of clicks,
once it's been observed,
weird, it's like solidifies it.
Yeah, and it goes back to a little bit about the quantum observer principle, like electrons, for example, exist in a cloud of probability. They don't exist in a finite location, just a probability cloud until they're observed, right? And then they exist in that location. And there's an argument of, do they ever exist in that location unless they're observed, right?
Yeah, is it always just a cloud and then here it is. Yeah. Oh, wait, here it is.
Right. And we're made up of these things.
Yeah.
So that's a weird thought. Yeah.
What does that even mean for us?
Yeah, that's a whole different podcast.
Well, and I believe we're going to reach it all there with manifestation and talk about that. So go ahead.
So back to the tarot cards, right? Mm-hmm. The whole idea behind tarot cards is that you're actually using dogma, right? You're using this framework of dogma.
Correct.
Right, to tap into the 0-point field and have these cognitive events or moments to be able to see into time and space through the 0-point field. And because what the 0-point field is ultimately, they found that electrons actually they emit I forget what the waves are called, but they emit the two types of waves. One of them I remember is called a retarded wave. So
interesting.
I remember that wave. So there's waves that they emit that go forward and backwards in time, right? And
God dang it.
And they found, and this is the whole remote viewing thing, right? And if you doubt remote viewing, then it's fine. You can doubt it all you want. You can also say that dogs aren't
but
real.
It's realistic enough that the U.S. government is using it.
Yeah, currently using it. Yeah. Read about Operation Grill Flame if you don't even...
Girl Flame?
Grill.
Oh, God.
Operation Grill.
Sounds better.
Mm-hmm. Girl Flame, girl.
Yeah, all right. Well, interesting name there,
Becky.
Sergeant, but we'll go with this, guys.
I think I would call it Operation Becky Karen.
That'd be a good op.
Yeah. Just a bunch of people just like, oh my God.
Judging.
Oh my God.
Judging.
Oh my God, Becky. Look at her butt.
Judge. So,
yeah, so
Grill Flame.
Yeah. Well, not Grill Flame, but remote viewing. What they found, like this guy, something Price. So Hal Puthoff, who is did all these studies through SRI, Stanford Research Institute, right, on remote viewing. And this stuff, like I said, the CIA was throwing money at this. And Hal Puthoff almost got arrested at one point because they thought that he was actually spying on the U.S. government because they asked him to look at a specific...
Oh, I did hear about this.
Yeah, specific place. Not him himself, but his remote viewers. And they couldn't find anything there. But a couple of miles away, they're drawing these missile silos. And there's like, Hal's like, I need more info. So they were drawing names of files, Operation Flytrap, Operation Nouveau or something like that. And then like names of officers that were there. Turns out these missile silos were a top secret location that were converted from missile silos to like where the NSA was operating in the foothills of the Blue Mountains. Right. And it was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
and his remote viewers were like able to like give all this like super specific information, and they thought he was a spy, and so they had to.
Well, of course they would until they look into it.
Right, and then they realized. Then they're like, fine, give us some info on these Russian locations, and they could give like incredibly specific information through remote viewing, but. One of his remote viewers, this guy named Price, last name of Price, Ken, I think was his first name, Ken Price, maybe. It fits. It seems like it's
probably Kenneth.
Yeah, Kenneth.
Seems a little more like a Kenneth.
Kenneth Price. He's dead now. He died like a year after this point. Right. This is in the 70s, early 70s.
Is he an older man, or is he just?
I don't know.
Something happened. Okay, it doesn't matter.
CIA probably took him out.
Oh, probably.
Yeah. So
possible.
So they were doing practice, like not practices. Hal was doing all these studies on remote viewing, and one of the places was this. I think it was in Palo Alto. It was this swimming pool area,
okay.
Right? And they did a remote viewing of it, right? Because they would have an observer go there, and then the observer would write everything down, and while the observer was there, they would have the remote viewer remote view it, and this was their way of like
testing,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a swimming pool. So he initially drew like kind of swimming pools, and he got the shapes and the size and the dimensions perfect. But then he was like, oh no, there's these big reservoir tanks here, and there's a reservoir tank here. And he's like, this is like a water treatment facility. And they're like, oh. And Hal Puthoff just wrote it off. He's like, oh, it's just too much interference.
Yeah.
Right. And interference was what they referred to as when the imagination interferes with your ability to basically receive.
So you started creating it instead of
receive energy from the quantum field and actually interpret it. And also turns out anyone can remote view. Anyone. They studied like all these people, like anyone with like 80% plus accuracy. Anyone can remote view. Yeah, it doesn't require a lot other than practice, right? So Price saw this like thing, this like reservoir and stuff like that. Turns out, and he just wrote it off. Like a year or two later, they found out that the site where the swimming pools was, like 20 years prior, was the water reservoir location for that town. And they got images, and it was the exact images that Price drew. So Price was remote viewing
the past,
the fucking past.
Whoa.
He traveled through space and time and remote viewed that.
That is wild.
Yeah. And so this thing back to manifestation, right? And again, if you're listening and you're like, oh, this is stupid, well, then fuck off.
Right.
Go listen to a different podcast.
Yeah, because it's out there. Look into it.
Yeah. And, so this thing about manifestation is I'm tie these things together. Like you can manifest changes in your own life through the ability of and the application of conscious thought, of applying your consciousness to the 0 point field and to the quantum reality, and through that reality you can actually affect you and the outcome of things, not just now but in the future and
evidently in the past.
Yeah. Oh, here's another experiment that they were doing with the remote viewing. So they would do precognition remote viewing. They would ask remote viewers to view an area that they were going to send an observer to, and what the observer saw and what went on, like a week before the observer went to it. And then, so they would have them write all this stuff down. They had all this they had a multiple choice thing, and then like any specific thing. And one of these events, they wrote down all this stuff about the observer, and a puppy dog, and finding a dog, and all like super specific
it's like
stuff
out there,
right?
Like super specific,
right? And this is like a week before the observer goes out. So while the observer was going out to the location to do their thing, ended up getting distracted about a stray dog, helped the stray dog get home, and then they had puppies there, and he ends up getting a puppy and took the puppy home.
He blew it. Or did he?
Yeah, so, I mean, my point is that...
So that brings up a whole bunch of, like, he blew it exactly like they knew he was going to.
Right. And so this remote viewer actually, like, saw that into the future. They saw into the future. Like, and this is stuff that's, like, scientifically documented, like, with... Hal Puthoff is not a slouch. The guy's a physicist, a doctor, right? Doctorate and physicist in vision.
Yeah, everyone knows that.
Right. And like you have these incredible minds, these incredibly powerful minds, like of scientific minds going, look at this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you want to pull a tarot card out, right, and you want to ask it a question about the future, is your future set? No, because that's one of the possibilities of saying,
Sure.
well, the future is determined. It's all predetermined, right? It's not that it's determined, right? I think like what it is, right, is our future exists just like an electron does in a probability
in a
cloud.
sea of probability.
Right, yeah. And so you can choose your outcome, like choose your own adventure, right?
And how would you... So, all right, so let's... And that is kind of what we're talking about here. And, you know, I do, you know, little simple readings all the time.
Right.
And it has given me some great, I mean, outstanding insight to myself and my relationships. And I would say with my own personal belief system that I am, without a doubt, believe that something's going on and connected here. And I value these, you know, the use of these very much. I don't think, like we said before, they're a tool. I don't have to have them to successfully navigate life, but it's super fun and it's great, man. It's very fun.
Right. And I guess that's what we're saying here is tarot cards aren't magical.
Yeah, these aren't blessed or anything specific.
Right. And even if they were blessed, who the fuck cares, right? Like, it's not about that. It's about the fact that your own mind, your own consciousness has the proven ability to travel through space and time, right? And also has the proven ability to affect outcome, past and future. Those click experiments I was talking about, they also did those the other way around too. They would have somebody focus on something that was going to be recorded in a week. Oh,
they didn't. Okay.
And they would change the outcome of something that was yet to happen.
That one is weird.
But the past isn't. Fuck.
Yeah, the past one totally simple, makes sense, but the future one,
right? The point, yeah. Time is a dimension, right? And just like you can travel up and down and left and right in your 3 dimensions,
right? In
your 4th dimension, apparently you can travel up and down and left and right, and back and forth, right?
That is so cool.
Yeah. And you can do that through your consciousness, right? And that's what the idea of grabbing onto these tarot cards or these runes or these affirmation cards or whatever you call them, right? They can help you bring forth and manifest what you want to happen in your life.
That's awesome.
Right.
Well, and the history of the tarot is super not well known either. I've noticed a lot of people say it came from Egypt. One of the stories I found was that there was a prophecy in Egypt saying that Egypt one day would just be ruins in the desert. And so
that's pretty accurate.
They nailed it. Nailed it.
It's not even a joke.
So no, not at all. And so I guess the mystical or shaman group of that time transcoded the secrets of the Egyptian culture into playing cards. But not playing cards, obviously. But so then you see this resubmergence or this submergence of tarot cards in the 1400s.
Emergence?
Re-emergence. No, they sunk them again. Resubmergence, which is crazy because they didn't know what they're doing. So yeah, they came out in the the 1400s. They start seeing in European culture, Italy, I think, and it was just a game.
Yeah,
people were playing. And I love the name of this game, Tirocchi Appropriati. And it was like a game one of these games where they deal the cards out, and then they would create poetic verses about the people playing the game depending on the cards that they had. Sounds like a fun, creative game. Way to go, guys.
So it's kind of like, let's make up a story.
Yeah, but like a choose your own adventure, make up a story.
What are those, Mad Libs?
Mad Libs. A little different, but yeah.
Basically, it's Mad Libs.
Yeah, it's Mad Libs. Like, look at this. And then you turned into an owl.
Look at that.
Yeah. So it sounds like a fun game to
You
play.
got stabbed with 9 swords.
Yeah. The swords is one of the
sword of 9s of swords.
sort of 9. Yeah. So I went down this rabbit hole thinking that we'd find this big mystical background, and it's really not there. But just like anything, if you are in touch intuitively with that part of yourself that is the larger part of yourself, you could probably use anything this way if you assign meaning to it. And
right,
you could, it's just yet, like we said, tool. It's a very interesting tool though.
So we did these they did these studies on people. Again, this is more of this SRI pair.
Okay.
I forget what pair stands for, but something about research. Same with SRI.
Mm-hmm.
Pair is Princeton, I believe, and SRI is Stanford.
Okay.
So not exactly slouch organizations, colleges, right? They did these observer studies about whether or not people could tell if someone was looking at them.
What?
Yeah.
You freaking eyeballing me, dude?
Yeah, but and I think as a listener, you could probably be like, dude, I know when somebody's like you can,
Oh yeah, you start looking around.
You can just feel that that heat from that stare or whatever. So they did they wanted to quantify this scientifically. And they actually said, well, we need to remove them so there's no physical cues or anything. Put them in a different room and have them view them through a camera. And so they did this thing about when the person
super creepy,
when the person would be staring at them through the camera and when they wouldn't. And they actually, they found that people are able to tell when they're being stared at, even if the person's 3 rooms away and there's a camera, like it's through the camera, right? And they would have this, if they didn't know the person, right? Then it was this like, ooh, stop staring at me. But if they knew the person, and they did these studies where they'd have them stare each other in the eyes for like 10 minutes and whatever and blah, blah, blah. And then if they knew the person, once they were getting stared at, they would actually relax more. So like the oneness idea. I mean, that's well, they were like connected.
Buddy. Yeah. Hey, buddy.
So even but they weren't facing the camera. They had no way of knowing, right?
Right.
When they were and they weren't. But their skin would relax, their heart rate would go down, so on and so forth. They would show signs of relaxation when they were getting stared at by someone they were known, or they knew, and when they were getting stared at by someone they didn't know and didn't trust, they would become.
That's crazy.
Their heart rate would elevate and their skin would tighten, so on and so forth, right? So, with respect to tarot cards, right?
My skin's still not tightening with this podcast.
And with respect to tarot cards and runes and this idea,
Get it?
Yeah.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you just pooped.
No viewers.
No. Nobody.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
There's tons of you.
I mean, you watched right there, that person.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah. So, with respect to that if you believe in something, right? And if you are comfortable with something, then you're more open to it and you're more relaxed to it and you can allow that connection to take place.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
They also found that with people wanting to alter someone's heart rate, they did these studies of whether or not they could, their skin would respond if somebody was trying to apply intent to them. And people could basically, these studies, I don't remember what they went by, but they could basically just through the power of thought and intent, someone could affect someone else's physiology to a degree. And these are just through science studies, but imagine if it was a healing based thing, because that's what they really want to know. But that's hard to quantify, right? In a
absolutely.
study.
Yeah, it's so many unknowns, the human factor.
But they found if somebody believed in this, it worked way better.
Yeah, I can see why that would work.
Right.
Open the doors.
Right. So if you don't believe in tarot cards, you don't believe in runes, you don't believe in that stuff, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's probably not going to help you.
It's not going to help you because they're not the thing, right? The
It's
thing,
not your language.
Yeah, well, it's not even that. The thing is in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Your mind, your own consciousness, right, is going to say, oh, I'm going to use these tools. I'm going to use these tools to tap into something bigger than me, to tap into the quantum 0-point field.
All right, so what, a lot of people listening, they heard the manifestation podcast the other day. And so now someone's like, okay, I believe at least enough, right, that I want to start on this and start seeing if I can see, some differences, right?
Right.
And do it open-mindedly, by the way, not like, all right, if I wake up in the morning, this pencil isn't a pen, I'm going to not believe this.
I'm glad that's where you took it, because I was like, where is he going to put the pencil?
No. And so, yeah, give it a chance. And so, like, what would you suggest? Like, how would you start doing this? And what would that look like?
Start manifesting?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, first of all, like, playful energy is a lot more helpful than intense energy in any way. So
I'd agree with that.
Like, I would say don't sit and like just
like this. Oh fuck! Here we go. Oh god! Gotta do this.
Because what you're applying into that is like intensity, right? And
right.
Like playful energy is a lot more helpful than intense energy. First of all, so be positive with however you're going to put this intent, and be loving and happy and uplifting, and have what, this whole idea of vibrating at a higher level, resonating at a higher level. There's science behind that too, right? But we won't talk about that right now. But be playful, be just say, okay, well, like I really want to change X, Y, or Z in my life, and then I'm going to, like, not only am I going to try to do that, I'm going to think about where that's going to take me, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example,
well, what language does the field speak?
The language, it speaks the language of the mind.
So, like, if you're thinking, would you say using pictures would be better in your minds, like imagining, or speaking English to it? So
here's the most important thing. Thoughts become things. Thoughts become things. You know why they call, when you write words down, you know why they call it spelling?
No.
Because words are spells.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know if that's true, but that's
I thought I bought it 100%. I was like, holy Jesus. I mean, smart.
So I would say, like, you have to change your own pattern of thought. Like, first of all, like, I get these, like, series of, like, almost like hyper consciousness headaches sometimes. Like, I feel like my mind's expanding and my head hurts a little bit.
Sure.
When I sit and I become incredibly open to the world around me, and I want to just allow the world, like, when you talk about the 0-point field and the quantum field, you start to understand that everything is connected. Right. Everything. Everything. And time doesn't necessarily apply. There's a scientist that says, oh, everything's easier when you take time out of it.
Right.
That's when it comes to quantum mechanics. Right?
Sure.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh, it all makes sense. Like, the whole concept of a warp drive, which is like an actual thing right nowadays, is actually taking time and bending the arc of time around something, and in order to create in order to change how long it takes to get somewhere. But that's a tangent.
Wow. Yeah, we don't have time.
Well, we don't have time. Yeah, but if you open your mind to the fact that you're connected, literally connected to everything, which you like, want to be, don't want to be, the less separate you become from everything, not just your shoes and your house and your home and the trees out in front of your property or whatever, but your entire universe. The entire universe is connected, right? Everything is connected through the quantum field, through the 0-point field. Even the concept of inertia isn't mass. The concept of inertia isn't mass overcoming the motion, right? In order to get something moving, the heavier it is, the harder it is to get moving. And once it's moving, the harder it is to slow down. That's the idea of inertia, right?
Yeah.
They've actually found that in terms of actual mass doesn't matter. It's actually about how things are connected to the 0 point field and overcoming the energy that is applied in the 0 point field to that object with regard to its quantum mass. Something along those lines. I'll talk about that later. But my point is, like, with manifestation, back to that, since I'm tangenting on my own. All this stuff makes sense in my own head.
Sure. No, I believe you.
Right. Is with manifestation, you apply intent and thought towards where you want to go and what you want to be.
In a playful nature.
In a playful, positive nature. And that's really all there is to it.
And I think the trick is getting into that positive frame of mind. And there's a lot of things like gratitude meditations. Like, I know, like, you might view your life as super difficult, and it is, I'm sure, in a lot of ways, if that's how you feel about it, but you still have things to be gracious and have gratitude for, right? And by listening, the frequency of gratitude is very high frequency.
Right.
And if you're trying to get into a playful state to where you can create or change something, I think starting with gratitude and getting into that higher frequency, and then lightheartedly imagining your life. Imagine your life. Feel the pictures. Feel the excitement. Feel the happiness. Feel the joy. Kissing your wife in a cool beach somewhere, wherever you want to be.
Me kissing your wife? We already talked about that.
No, not my wife.
I don't want to do
please
that.
Don't imagine that.
I'm not.
Is that, we're back to the looking studies? I get all the time, my skin tightens up. I'm like, Dan, just kidding. But get yourself into that frame of mind and start imagining and playing there. Play there. Have fun.
Right.
And like you said, don't make it so heavy. Like, I gotta fucking get out of this job so I can go to this new place.
Yeah.
That's not gonna help anything.
Yeah. Like, I think that's part of the human condition, I think, and part of our own, like, conditioning with humanity as a whole is to drag us away from the concept of being a metahuman, of concept of being something, an interconnected being, right? Of this, like, true sense of individuality, of of physicality, of what's mine is mine, and what stuff is, like, stuff's important.
Right. I got to gather all the stuff around me that is, so I can keep it.
Or then like reaching deep into dogma and, like, being like, well, my dogma says this. Even science itself is dogma. I mean, there's studies that have gone on. Jacques Benveniste on the study about basically water had a memory, and it wasn't not something that he wanted to study, something he stumbled upon, right? And basically it changed. He changed, like, completely, and went down this path. And this was a celebrated.
Was he French?
French doctor, yeah.
So I bet he was like, "Hey, what the?
Yeah.
Hey, wait, what the?
Well, Zutalu, she has it.
This makes no sense." That's what I imagine.
I want a hamburger.
How about that study? No, not yet.
I go get a American hamburger.
I want to spit in this guy's coffee.
Hamburger. A what? Hamburger. A hamburger? You want to? That's what's Steve Martin from?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if anyone's French listening.
Hamburger.
Thank you for listening. Thank you. Sorry about the last 45 seconds.
No, I'm not. I'm not sorry.
I'm trying to fix it.
F the French.
Whoa. Hey, come on, there's great French people.
Right? I'm going to call them American fries. I'm not eating with ketchup.
I've been American kissing girls for a long time. Let me tell you that.
Yeah.
Hot ones, too.
Uh-huh. Like Carl and Johnny.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. No guilt, no shame.
Homeless Glenn.
Nope.
Yeah. They manifested that.
That was not a good tangent.
No, it's awkward.
And sorry to humans for the last 45 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not sorry.
No, sorry. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So where are we at on time here?
We're going to like 4 minutes.
We got 4 minutes. I knew it was getting close.
Right, yeah.
I could feel feel it.
That's
So tarot cards, obviously the devil's in them. This has been proven through science.
right.
Is that where we got to?
That's I mean, ultimately, let's.
Oh, and I do want to say one thing too. If you're someone that's breaking out of dogma, which
Right.
I was raised Catholic, like I get it. If you're breaking out of that and you've heard something about the tarot cards and all this stuff, read through a tarot card book and it'll break that up pretty quick.
Right. Yeah.
This isn't anything bad. It's amazing.
Isn't that funny?
It's beautiful stuff.
Well, here's the thing: is
I would say godlike.
well, this is true with a lot of the major religions, but I mean, some of them not so much, but other ones, yes. Anything that flies in the face of that or speaks against that, then it tends to be regarded as quote evil or from Satan or whatever you want to call it. Like, if you look at like two of the biggest religions in the world, you look at Islam and Christianity, right? There's a lot of judgment there, right?
There is, yeah.
And of course,
A lot of fear.
A lot of people would say, well, would say, no, and which is fine, that. Like,
You can do it your style.
Right.
It's great individually.
I mean, I think Jesus was a metahuman. I think Jesus was ability to turn himself into light, right?
Right.
And then disappeared. And Jesus talked about the idea of God, right? Jesus wasn't a Christian. Jesus was somebody that spread the idea of love, right? And positivity, right?
And that we're all capable of great things.
Right. And we're all capable of great things. And
none greater than love.
Right. And then we can all love and care about each other and be incredibly positive. And the idea of positivity and not judgment, right? Which is this message that transcends time, truly. Mm-hmm. Like if you think about it, just you can't be judgmental and forward thinking at the same time.
No, absolutely not. Well said.
Yeah. So you can't want justice and change. And I guess that's a message for people in downtown Portland right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would love to see so many things change. But
yeah. You can't have both is what I'm saying. Because justice is a backwards thought and change is a forward thought. But, you can't have both, right? You can't say I want a backwards and a forward thought.
Which is the whole turn your other cheek.
Right. And that's the whole message behind Jesus was if you want change, you have to grow. You have to be accepting. You have to be loving. You have to be happy. But it was a great message. Right? Fantastic.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah. And then.
Well, I remember, what did you read in college? It was everyone was calling it the Satanic Bible.
Right. It was the Satanic Bible.
That's why they called it that then. Perfect. But I remember I was just at the beginning phase of breaking through dogma. And I went to Catholic school and everything.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah. I was like, have you heard about that Satanic Bible? And we were in your car and you're like, yeah, I read that.
Yeah, this one?
Yeah. And you had it. Yeah. And I was just like, holy. I wasn't ready yet to read the pages, but I remember what you said was, oh yeah, there's some good concepts in there. I was like, what? In the Satanic Bible?
Well, I mean, a lot of it's kind of a joke, honestly. Aleister Crowley was a goofball, right? And so, I mean, the stuff that he wrote was basically self-serving. I mean, he wrote a lot, but he wrote a lot of good things, that was about, basically just, basically do what you want was ultimately the ultimate message of the quote Satanic Bible. And of course, what he wanted to have orgies all the time. That was his goal.
He had some issues, undiagnosed.
To get his wee wet. That was pretty much all he wanted to do. Yeah.
And hopefully it worked for him.
Yeah,
Good job, buddy.
It did. And it was in a great time that he wrote it, because that was a lot of that going on anyways.
Yeah.
So
it was edgy.
Yeah. Well, long and short of it is back to manifestation to end this.
Yeah, where were we? It can't end there on the Satanic Bible.
Right. But is dogma will often, you can use dogma as a tool to help you manifest your own like where your own path is, right? And when you manifest, and this is the ultimate answer, and we said this last podcast, you're not manifesting a specific moment, a specific thing. You're not manifesting a lower insurance rate or getting the insurance on your truck the way you want it.
Right. But did I?
No. So
Okay.
you're manifesting a path, right? And that path, you still have to walk down that path.
Right.
Right. You got to put one front of it. The path isn't the end of it, right? You're manifesting the path. You still have to walk down that path.
Absolutely.
Like, so when you think about that probability cloud, like of the future, it's still a probability cloud, and it's still in the future from now, from the way that we experience time. So you still have to get there.
Yeah. And I think that is why the intuition thing, being so quiet and listening and trusting yourself, man. Like, we've been told not to trust ourselves, just to trust people for so damn long that it is difficult to start hearing your own inner voice.
Yeah.
And that is, I believe, how the guidance shows up. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go do this thing. And then after you've been thinking about manifesting something, a lifestyle, a career path, and you have this impulse to go somewhere, you go there and you talk to someone that is like-minded and like, hey, dude, can you help me with this? Because I was thinking about this, and things are off and running now.
Right.
Because you're listening to that little voice.
Yeah.
Trust yourself, goddammit.
I agree. Yeah. Also understand that imagination is interference from the quantum field perspective. Like, if you're trying to see a path and find that, that's why it's important to remember that your imagination can interfere with your ability to actually to move down that path. You start imagining things and filling in blanks of like, I need this, it has to be this, and then you start to fill in stuff.
And now these people are thinking this about me.
Right. Or, positive or negative, right? You'd be like, and then you can turn it negative and be like, well, none of this happened. And well, it wasn't manifestation, that was imagination. And there's this line between imagination and manifestation where remember, you have to manifest a path, and you're not manifesting an end result.
Right.
At least in my opinion.
I love that. I love that terminology.
Yeah.
Manifest your path.
Yeah. And then walk it.
That could be a brass knuckles shirt.
Right there, in between something.
Yeah. I love it. Dude, thank you for those insights. I like that.
Yeah.
I had a lot of notes, but we didn't need them.
Did I ruin it?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you did ruin it. Let me just go ahead and mark that down. Show 6, ruined by Dan for Ryan.
All right, and we're out of here. See you guys.
Bye.
The thing is it's a broad spectrum of conversational thought there. I mean, if you put a brass knuckle and a baby carriage together,
It's gonna sink like a rock. Baby-sized brass knuckles.
yeah, that'd be awesome. Like,
You're gonna have to order that online on the dark web. So it's a fast baby.
yeah.
I would have entered in the Olympics. Did they try that?
I mean,
Could you just not corral it?
it was Satan,
Oh, it was Satan.
right? Yeah.
Oh.
I feel like if the same baby would be like, yeah, I'll run the race for you,
Yeah, sure.
and then not.